Many false prophets arising and leading many astray. Verse 11 says, And many false prophets shall arise and shall lead many astray. This began to happen after Christ's ascension and will continue until the end of this age. Lawlessness being multiplied and the love of many growing cold. Verse 12 says, And because lawlessness is multiplied, the love of the many shall grow cold. Do not apply this verse directly to the members of the church. Although you may borrow it and use it for the church, the direct application must be to the Jewish believers who have become cold in their love. The one enduring to the end to be saved. Although the love of the many shall grow cold, he who endures to the end, he shall be saved. Because the Jewish believers are to suffer persecution, they are called upon to endure to the end in order to be saved. They need to exercise their endurance in the Lord and not give up their faith. To be saved here implies to be saved into the manifestation of the kingdom. Suppose, because of persecution and hatred, some Jewish believers are defeated. Those who are defeated will not participate in the manifestation of the kingdom of the heavens. Therefore, in this verse, to be saved is not to receive eternal salvation, is to be saved out of persecution and is to be saved into the manifestation of the kingdom. The gospel of the kingdom being preached in the whole inhabited earth to all the nations. Verse 14 says, And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in the whole inhabited earth for a testimony to all the nations, and then the end shall come. The gospel of the kingdom, including the gospel of grace, not only brings people into God's salvation, but also into the kingdom of the heavens. The emphasis of the gospel of grace is on forgiveness of sin, God's redemption, and eternal life, whereas the emphasis of the gospel of the kingdom is on the heavenly ruling of God and the authority of the Lord. This gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole earth for a testimony to all the nations before the end of this age comes. The gospel of the kingdom is a testimony to all the nations, the Gentiles. This testimony must spread to the whole earth before the end of this age, the time of the Great Tribulation. In verses 4 through 14, we see the actual history concerning the Jews from Christ's ascension until the end of this age, the 3.5 years of the Great Tribulation. Before the Great Tribulation comes, everything in these verses will transpire. The last item will be the preaching of the gospel of the kingdom. I believe that the churches in the Lord's recovery will bear the burden to bring the gospel to all the inhabited earth. The gospel of grace has been preached in every continent, but not the gospel of the kingdom. The gospel of grace is the lower gospel, but the gospel of the kingdom is the higher gospel. The higher gospel will be brought to every continent through the churches. In the Lord's recovery, this is the strongest sign of the consummation of the age. Will take place before the Great Tribulation. Thus, the most important sign of the consummation of the age is the preaching of the gospel of the kingdom to all the inhabited earth. Life Study of Matthew, Message 62, Prophecy of the Kingdom. We have seen that the Lord's answer to his disciples' question is of three sections: the section concerning the Jews, the section concerning the church, and the section concerning the Gentiles. The section concerning Israel is divided into two parts, from Christ's ascension to the end of the age, and during the end of the age. In order to understand chapter 24, verse 1 to 31, we must keep these subsections in mind. We must also be careful not to misapply the verses, that is, not to apply them to the wrong time or to the wrong people. Many Christian teachers do not understand the significance of the term the end of the age. The Greek phrase here can also be translated the completion of the age or the consummation of the age. The end of the age denotes the 3.5 years of the Great Tribulation that will terminate this age. Therefore, the end of the age is not the close of the age, but the very last period of the age. In order to understand the prophecies in the Old and the New Testaments, we must have a clear understanding of this matter. Many Christian teachers are confused regarding the prophecies because they are not clear about the end of this age. The term the consummation of the age is found in the last verse of Matthew. Because we hope to be raptured, we expect the Lord to be with us until the end of this age, not until the close of the age. At the close of the age, the Lord will descend to the earth and place his feet on the Mount of Olives. Before this takes place, there will be a period of time which the Bible calls the end of the age, a period of time which will last 3.5 years. In chapter 24, verse 6, the Lord told his disciples that they would hear of wars and rumors of wars, but that the end is not yet. He told them not to be disturbed, for such things were but the beginning of birth pangs. The end of the age, the great tribulation, was not yet. In verse 14, he said that the gospel of the kingdom would be preached in the whole inhabited earth for a testimony to all the nations, and then the end would come. In verse 6, he said that the end was not yet, but in verse 14, he said that the end would come. We need to remember that chapter 24, verse 1 to 14, speaks of the things between Christ's ascension and the end of the age. All these verses must be applied to the Jews during this period of time, at the end of the age. Now we come to chapter 24, verse 15 to 31. These verses describe the things that will happen at the end of the age, during the last 3.5 years. The end of the age begins with verse 15. Remember, this chapter speaks especially about the sign of the Lord's coming and the sign of the end of the age. Verse 14 indicates that a strong sign of the end of the age is the preaching of the gospel of the kingdom to the whole world. When this has been accomplished, we should realize that the last 3.5 years are about to begin. Thus, the preaching of the gospel of the kingdom will be the greatest sign of the end of this age. Prior to this preaching, many other things will have taken place, but these things are not the signs of the end of the age. For in speaking about them, the Lord said the end was not yet. Therefore, the preaching of the gospel of the kingdom to all the inhabited earth will be the unique sign of the end of this age. Immediately after the preaching of the gospel of the kingdom, the events described in verse 15 will take place. The Great Tribulation, the image of the Antichrist standing in the temple. Verse 15 says, When therefore you see the abomination of desolation spoken of through Daniel the prophet standing in the holy place, let him who reads understand how long the period of time will be for the events covered in verses 4 through 14. No one knows. But the prophecy in verses 15 through 31 concerning the remnant of the Jews will definitely be fulfilled in the last 3.5 years of this age, the time of the Great Tribulation. The second half of the last week prophesied in Daniel chapter 9 verse 27. It will begin with the setting of Antichrist's image, the idol, in the temple, and the end with Christ's open coming. Abomination means an idol. Here it refers to Antichrist's image set up in the temple of God as an idol at the beginning of the Great Tribulation. Antichrist with his false prophet will force people to worship this idol. This setting up of the idol will mark the beginning of the Great Tribulation, the end of the age. There are many Christians who are not clear about the phrase the abomination of desolation. As we have seen, the abomination here refers to an idol, the image of Antichrist set up in the holy place. According to Revelation 13, this image will be able to speak. Before that time, no idol will be able to speak. The Greek word rendered desolation means causing desolation, desolating. The abomination, the idol of Antichrist, will cause desolation. Antichrist is called the destroyer. He will do much destroying. As soon as Antichrist sets up his image and forces people to worship it, he will begin to destroy all religious things. Furthermore, this idol will provoke the Lord's anger, and he will come in to destroy Antichrist and his army. This is what is indicated by the phrase abomination of desolation.